Okay, so hello everybody, good morning and welcome to the EduphoreIAS, the Hindu analysis series. Today we are starting with the Hindu of 13th June 2023. Fine. So let us, as usual, we will be starting with the front page. We will be first locating which news is important from this page, and then further we will be focusing on the, of course, next pages or further pages. Okay, तो चलो आज फर्स्ट आज की जो न्यूज़ है दैट इज़ कोविड डेटा ब्रीच अगेन. सो कोविड वैक्सीनेशन, आई होप ऑल ऑफ यू आर अवेयर. कोविड वैक्सीनेशन लगवाने के बाद यहाँ से हम ऑनलाइन जाके अपनी सर्टिफिकेट्स डाउनलोड करते थे, ठीक है, या इस ऐप पे आप रजिस्ट्रेशन भी करते थे, ठीक है, कोविड वैक्सीन लगवाने के लिए. सो कोविन का जो फुल फॉर्म है दैट इज कोविड वैक्सीन इंटेलिजेंस नेटवर्क, ठीक है. So this CoWIN was meant to look after all the governance related issues, especially with respect to the COVID vaccination. ठीक है. डेटा आउट, तो डेटा ब्रीच की न्यूज़ आई है. इसमें गवर्नमेंट ने डिनाई किया इस चीज़ को, ठीक है. गवर्नमेंट कहती है कि फुल प्रूफ सिस्टम है, ऐसा कुछ नहीं हुआ है, बट देयर हैज़ बीन सम थिंग्स इन द सम डेटा ब्रीच रिलेटेड न्यूज़ इन द पब्लिक. So Union IT Ministry says breach data were previously stolen but not from CoWIN portal. Indian Computer Emergency Response Team CERT-IN set to investigate the issue and submit a report. So once the report would be submitted by CERT-IN, that is India's emergency response this team, then only would be aware of what exactly happened. Fine. So according to IT Ministry, जो ये data breach हुआ है that has been प्रीवियसली स्टोलन, ठीक है. डायरेक्टली ये कोविन प्लेटफॉर्म से नहीं हुआ बट नॉट फ्रॉम कोविन पोर्टल, ठीक है. सो इज द डेटा दैट हैज बीन स्टोर्ड ऑन कोविन इज इन सेफ हैंड्स? दिस इज अ क्वेश्चन. सो कोविन पोर्टल अकॉर्डिंग टू द हेल्थ मिनिस्ट्री हैज एडेक्वेट सेफगार्ड्स फॉर डेटा प्राइवेसी. वैक्सीनेटेड बेनिफिशियरी डेटा फॉर कोविन ऐप इज अवेलेबल एट 3 लेवल्स. सो जो वैक्सीनेटेड बेनिफिशियरीज हैं लाइक अस, हमने भी कोविड इस ऐप पे के थ्रू हमें भी वैक्सीनेशन करवाई थी. सो ऑफ कोर्स वैक्सीनेशन हमने जो सो इस ये जो डेटा है जो अवेलेबल है कोविड पोर्टल पे और कोविन प्लेटफॉर्म पे, इसके लिए दिस डेटा इज अवेलेबल एट 3 डिफरेंट लेवल्स. नंबर 1, बेनिफिशियरी डैशबोर्ड, ठीक है. सपोज आपने वैक्सीनेशन लगवाई, उसके बाद आप जाके वहाँ से एक्सेस कर सकते हो अपने डेटा. सपोज हम PDF जाके फॉर्मेट में अपने सर्टिफिकेट्स डाउनलोड करते थे. अब वैक्सीनेटेड पर्सन कैन हैव एक्सेस डेटा यूजिंग रजिस्टर्ड मोबाइल नंबर विद OTP ऑथेंटिकेशन, ठीक है. कोविन ऑथराइज्ड यूजर, सो कुछ यूजर्स को इस जिस भी यूजर्स को इस प्लेटफॉर्म ने कोविन ने इटसेल्फ ऑथराइज किया है वो भी यूज़ कर सकते हैं इस डेटा को. The vaccinator can access data of vaccinated beneficiaries using authentic login credentials through CoWIN system logs every authorized access. Okay, so vaccinator जो वैक्सीन लगा रहा है वो भी जो वैक्सीनेटेड लोग हैं उनकी डेटा को एक्सेस कर सकता है. थर्ड इज API बेस्ड. Third party apps with authorized access of CoWIN APIs can access data of beneficiaries through beneficiary OTP authentication. सो इसमें भी बेनिफिशियरी की थर्ड पार्टी ऐप्स जो है वो डेटा यूज कर सकती हैं जिनको कि एक्सेस ग्रांटेड है थ्रू कोविन प्लेटफॉर्म, बट दैट वुड आल्सो बी डन ओनली थ्रू OTP ऑफ द बेनिफिशियरीज OTP ऑथेंटिकेशन. सो दिस सिस्टम सीम्स टू बी फुल प्रूफ. Even Rajiv Chandrasekhar, Union Minister of State for Electronics and Information Technology, has clarified that CoWIN still is safe. ठीक है. So that is the a brief or short news. The second is related to retail inflation, which has again cooled down to 4.25% in May. This is 20 month low, 20 महीने की कमी देखी गई है, ठीक है. So cooling down of retail inflation, India's retail inflation decelerated to 4.25% in May from 4.7% in April, ठीक है. Retail inflation has been below RBI upper threshold of 6% and is now closer to RBI's medium term target of 4%. So remember there are 2-3 issues here. Number 1 is, I hope all of you us knows that RBI through its MPC Monetary Policy Committee, which is a 6-member committee, takes the action related to putting a pause on, let us say, this repo rate, or increasing it or decreasing it, whatever is the scenario in the economy of inflationary or deflationary tendency. Fine. So there is a mechanism of FIT, that is flexible interest targeting. It's a kind of understanding, memorandum of understanding being signed between Government of India and RBI. The mandate which has been given to the RBI under this FIT mechanism is that flexible interest targeting regime I am talking about, that RBI has to maintain the inflation in India in the range of 4 plus minus 2%, means the overall range you see is from 2% to 6%, but the medium term target is of 4%. Fine. And today retail inflation is hovering around 4.25%. So you can see it is somewhere in lines with the medium term target of 4%. Fine. Still though 0.25 in the upper side. Okay. So keep in mind this thing. But this is, of course, it has come down under the upper, it is below upper threshold of 6% of the RBI's target under FIT. ठीक है. So ये हमें रिटेल इन्फ्लेशन को बेसिकली CPI भी सेम चीज़ है, CPI कंज्यूमर प्राइस इंडेक्स which is measured by basket of goods and services. Fine. So this is also known as headline inflation. Headline inflation is two kinds of inflation. Basically we have like CPI. CPI inflation is, remember, targeted by RBI while coming up with this or formulating its monetary policy. Okay? So keep in mind this CPI inflation is very, very important, or to which in newspapers you also find CPI inflation or headline inflation at times. So headline inflation is nothing but retail inflation, or other name is CPI inflation. Other set is core inflation. Core inflation is headline or CPI inflation minus the food and fuel prices, because these are volatile in nature. So when you deduct or subtract this volatility nature of food and fuel prices from your headline inflation, you get the core inflation. Fine. Okay. So this much was important from this section. Okay. Let us. So nothing else important from this page. Let us move to the next page. Next page पे चलते हैं, देखते हैं क्या important है. So these are the basically local pages. Mostly आपको यहाँ politics देखने को मिलती है. ठीक है. Mostly political news. ठीक है. कौन कहाँ पे मंदिर जा रहा है, मस्जिद जा रहा है, कौन किसके बारे में क्या गालियाँ दे रहा है, बस यही सब मिलता है. ठीक है. So no use for us from the exam point of view. चलो. Okay, all politics, that's why I'm leaving it. ISRO ने क्या कहा है? Okay, so this might be important for us. ISRO, Norway and the Svalbard mission. This might be important for preliminary fact here. Since remember, while discussing, my focus is to cover both aspects, preliminary exam as well as some editorial articles discussion and all, which might be important for, or which is important indeed for mains exam. Okay, so what happened? The Norway mission in 1997 presented unique challenges for ISRO, as the Rohini rocket had till then flown only in India. Okay, so on November 20, 1997, a Rohini RH-300 Mach 2 sounding rocket rose to the skies from Svalbard. So Rohini rocket जो है उसको launch कहाँ से किया गया था? That was Svalbard from Norway. ठीक है? Norway operationalizing a new rocket launching range there. The solid propellant powered, so it was a solid propellant, not liquid. Remember this, was shipped from India for the launch, while 4 senior hands of the Indian Space ISRO were specially flown to Norway to make sure everything went off all right. Fine. So it is about launching of Rohini rocket Mach 2 series, which was launched. It's a solid propellant rocket which was launched on November 20, 1997 from Svalbard in Norway. Fine, by the ISRO. Okay, so this is about, of course, something you can say it's a historical fact, not that you can say important. Just Rohini rocket, you should be aware from where it was launched for the first time. Fine. You can see the RH-300 Mac was given a new name by the NSC, Norwegian Space Center, and it was named as Isbjorn 1, which translates literally as Polar Bear 1. If we love our Royal Bengal tigers, they love their polar bears, of course. So they renamed it as Isbjorn 1, which means literally translation is Polar Bear 1. Okay? So just keep in mind this much of miscellaneous facts. Okay, so here came the here finally हम उस पेज पर पहुंच गए हैं जो मोस्ट इम्पोर्टेंट पेज होता है किसी भी न्यूज़पेपर का. सो एडिटोरियल पेज, एंड यू सी फर्स्ट द इम्पोर्टेंट आर्टिकल फ्रॉम हियर फॉर द डे टुडे इज दिस वन रिलेटेड टू ऑनलाइन एजुकेशन प्लेटफॉर्म्स. फाइन. सो इसमें ऑथर ने जो बात की है राइटर ने, दैट इज ई एजुकेशन प्लेटफॉर्म्स, इलेक्ट्रॉनिक एजुकेशन प्लेटफॉर्म्स एंड देयर जनरेटिव एआई चैप्टर. So he is talking about the how e-platforms or e-learning, this educational platforms like MOOCs, massive open online learning, these courses and all using regenerative AI. So regenerative AI के बारे में हम पहले भी बात कर चुके हैं. For example, ChatGPT is one of the regenerative AI tool where it mimics artificial intelligence. And it can translate even text and everything, it can answer your questions as well, it can write essay for you as well. Fine. So regenerative, that is can regenerate some, you can say further, let us say text. Fine. Even it can write essay, even it can play music for you and everything. So that's what I mean. So education platforms, they're regenerative generative AI chapter. So we'll see what exactly he is saying. So the context is an anecdote to start with. Salman Khan flourished even at the peak of the world economic crisis of 2008, global financial crisis, talking about the Khan Academy's online education videos attracted thousands of learners that year. In 2008, when world was under global financial crisis, it has gone from strength to strength since then. Khan's not-for-profit enterprise is funded by the likes of Gates Foundation, Bill Gates, Google, Elon Musk. Fine. So he is talking about the this emphasizing on the Khan's Academy's online education courses or videos. Today the academy has won 30 million learners from across the world, means 13 crore, ranging from school goers to graduate level learners. Such is the enduring is something which cannot, which persists for a longer time, popularity of online education. So such is the enduring popularity of online education. So scaling up, how the things started, especially in the field of online education or e-platforms. So as the world recovered from its economic setback by 2011 of global financial crisis 2008, talking about a new genre of online courses titled massive open online courses, MOOCs, which is even prevalent in India as well, made their entry, driven by reputed institutions of learning. Fine. Though MOOCs have been around since 2008, कहते हैं कि MOOCs तो 2008 से ही start हो गई थी, and that was started by reputed these global institutions. Their institutional origin जो है can be traced to 3 free online courses offered by Stanford University in 2011. ठीक है. Though MOOCs were there, started in 2008, but कहते हैं 3 free courses online offer की गई Stanford University ने in 2011. So this might be referred to as the institutional origins, that was backed by some reputed institution. ठीक है. So there are few persons, 4 persons, Peter Norvege, Sebastian Throne and Jennifer Widom and Andrew Nag conducted these courses. So ये 4 tutors थे और instructors जिन्होंने इन courses को conduct किया. Buoyed by the large turnout of learners, ठीक है, impressed by the larger turnout of learners, you can say, these pilot courses, the Throne launched his online education outfit Udacity. So ये जो Throne थे, Sebastian Throne, 4 लोगों में से इन्होंने अपनी online platform launch की called as Udacity. In late 2011 as a for-profit company, non-for-profit company नहीं, it's for-profit company. A year later, Andrew Nag and Daphne Koller followed suit with their venture Coursera, you might be aware of this very famous online education platform Coursera, which even helps you in especially during pandemic, many of the people took advantage of such kind of platforms. Even some of my friends this went through this or pursued some of the courses mentioned there. Fine, 3 months, 6 month kind of courses on Coursera. So which was also registered as a for-profit company. So this was also registered for profit company and not for profit. No, not for non-profit companies. So these are the profit-making companies. So not to be left behind, MIT and Harvard, since Stanford has already started these kind of courses, so MIT and Harvard also joined forces to create edX, Education Act, in May 2012 as a non-profit MOOCs company. Anant Agrawal, the visionary founder of edX, is widely credited with open sourcing and internationalizing the company's open edX tech stack. So of course he is talking about that when Stanford started its online courses, MOOCs, this kind of courses or platforms, then even MIT and Harvard joined the forces, because of course competition is always there and every institute want to be the best. So although edX was acquired by the that is a thing for past कि edX को बाद में acquire कर लिया company जिसका नाम था 2U. What matters here is all the three outfits succeeded in launching MOOCs on a global scale in partnership with the world's leading universities and institutions. This is important. As far as India is concerned, the Indian Institute of Bombay, IIT Bombay, alongside Indian Institute of Management Bengaluru, the IIT Bombay and IIM Bengaluru have been the early movers. So इन दो institutions भी ये early movers थे इंडिया में with respect to your e-education और e-education platforms. Fine. For example, MOOCs courses, ठीक है, online courses. As of both institutions offer a variety of MOOCs courses through the edX platform, Education X platform. As of 2021, there existed nearly 35 MOOCs learning management system. ठीक है. So this has been operational through or managed by learning management systems (LMS) spread across North America, Asia, and Europe. So 35 MOOCs learning LMS, that is learning management platforms, have been spread through across North America, Asia, and Europe. 3 continents you can say. So the list of large LMS platform from the developing world includes India's study waves of active learning for young aspiring minds. So जैसे हमारा स्वयं है, स्वयं प्रभा है, उसी तरह से 35 ये different platforms हैं through these 3 you can say continents, America, especially the North America we are talking about, Asia and Europe. ठीक है. Study waves of active learning for young aspiring minds, that is SWAM, that is operational in India, by the Ministry of Education, launched in the year 2017. Government of India, it is one of the world's largest learning e-portals. So जो स्वयं है, that is one of the largest e-learning platform, and it has the traffic of around or enrollment of around 22 million, means 2.2 crores. ठीक है. According to Class Central, the number of MOOCs learners in the world excluding China was 220 million in 2021. Coursera accounted for 97 million learners out of 220, means 22 करोड़ में से 9.7 करोड़ जो लोग हैं वो Coursera से जुड़े हुए हैं. While edX and India SWAM had enrollment of 42 and 22, so India की जो SWAM portal है that has enrollment of 2.2 crore people or 22 million. Fine. So now why generative AI? अब generative AI tools use करने की ज़रूरत क्यों पड़ रही है इन types के tools platforms को, that is e-learning platforms को? So there are lots of factors. Writer mentions, despite their seemingly high enrollment numbers, the financials of MOOCs platform are fragile. The operating expenses of a MOOCs platform are high. Of course, operating expenses are high. Revenue generation has been fragile, or financial position is not that good, partly due to maintenance expenses associated with the LMS tech stack, and partly due to steep marketing costs incurred for enlarging the learner base. So of course the competition is there, and marketing, of course, online marketing and all sucks lots of money. On the revenue side, the practice of offering entry-level course great is that is at a low fees aggravated the financial crunch faced by this platform. So this is what happening even today. You see even in the civil services coaching, many platforms offering coaching at a very you can say very competitive prices, fine. So of course they are actually no doubt gaining the market, gaining the traffic or the students, getting students, but it is somewhere setting a scenario where the industry might be unsustainable in the longer term. So this is what their author is saying, that offering courses at low fees aggravates the financial crunch of such MOOCs platforms. Although MOOCs platform by and large rely on degree learning courses to earn revenue, कहते हैं कि डिग्री कोर्सेज भी ऑफर करते हैं ये जो अपने प्लेटफॉर्म्स है, बट डिग्री कोर्सेज बहुत ज़्यादा लोग सब्सक्राइब नहीं करते, बिकॉज पीपल प्रेफर टू गो टू विजिट टू कॉलेजेस, visit to universities, because offline coaching can never be, or offline education can never be substituted by the online education, fine. So these are the problems or the factors he raises. Such courses have few takers. Of course, a key metric that determines learners enrollment for MOOCs is the probability of potential learners discovering LMS platforms through web-based search engines. बिल्कुल ठीक बात है कि majority of the times आपको इनके बारे में पता ही लगता है ऑनलाइन सर्च और ऑनलाइन प्लेटफॉर्म्स के थ्रू, ठीक है, वेब बेस्ड सर्च इंजन्स के थ्रू. इवन व्हेन अ लर्नर स्टम्बल्स ऑन अ प्लेटफॉर्म ऑफ हर चॉइस, शी वुड स्टिल स्ट्रगल टू लोकेट कोर्सेज दैट सूट्स हर नीड्स फ्रॉम द क्राउडेड पोर्टफोलियोज ऑफ. बिल्कुल ठीक बात है कि कोर्सेरा का एग्जांपल दे रहे हैं कि कोर्सेरा पे n नंबर ऑफ कोर्सेज हैं, अगर आप उस पर जाते भी हो, विजिट भी करते हो, सो एट टाइम्स यू माइट बी स्टम्बल और स्टक विद फाइंडिंग द कोर्सेज व्हिच बेस्ट सूट्स यू, फाइन. Not just Coursera but all three platforms, edX and Udacity. What compounds the problem is the high rate of dropouts by entry level learners. So what is the main problem is कि earlier तो लोग join कर लेते हैं, but later on we see large number of dropouts, ठीक है. In turn dropouts reduces the catchment of learners for degree granting programs. बिल्कुल ठीक बात है कि डिग्री जो कोर्सेज हैं उनकी फिर जो कैचमेंट और जो डिमांड है वो कम हो जाती है, बिकॉज ड्रॉप आउट अगर कर दोगे तो ऑफकोर्स यू आर नॉट कम्पीटिंग. These factors perhaps explain why Coursera, edX and Khan Academy have gone in for regenerative AI. So here comes the role of regenerative AI. edX Chat GPT plugin helps aspiring learners to successfully locate platforms and courses that suit their requirements. The Khan Academy chat box, Khan Migo, challenges learners with thought-provoking questions. ठीक है, so engaged रखता है learners को. ये platforms, I mean especially the AI, this generative AI keeps you engaged. So that's why you feel interested and stay connected with such platforms. While edX Expert and Coursera's AI Coursera Coach function as virtual assistant that answer queries like Google Virtual Assistant, provide feedback on assignments or Siri, generate quick summaries of voluminous content, and swiftly turn out exam scores. So these are the things which these platforms are making in order to engage more and more number of students or the learners. As learning gets interesting and engaging, dropouts are bound to come down. बिल्कुल ठीक बात है, जैसे जैसे इंटरेस्ट लोगों की बढ़ेगी वैसे से ड्रॉप आउट्स जो रेट है वो कम होगी, रिजल्टिंग इन मोर लर्नर्स प्रोग्रेसिंग टू डिग्री ग्रांटिंग प्रोग्राम्स. सो इस तरह से मोर एंड मोर ऑफ द लर्नर्स विल बी ज्वाइनिंग देयर डिग्री कोर्सेज, फाइन. नाउ एज फार एज इंडिया इज कंसर्न, इंडिया स्वयं जो है प्लेटफॉर्म हैज़ येट टू स्पेल आउट इट्स अप्रोच टू AI. सो अभी तक स्वयं ने इनकॉर्पोरेट नहीं किया है सच कोई AI टूल, ठीक है. However, the platform is in for interesting times. The SWAM user community will drastically scale up by 2025 when India's active internet users become 900 million, 90 crores by 2025. जब कहते हैं ऑथर की राइटर की जब इंडियन पॉपुलेशन जो 90 करोड़ ऑलमोस्ट एक्टिव इंटरनेट यूजर्स हो जाएगी by 2025, so of course there will be a massive traffic in rise in traffic over you can say even this SWAM platform. Fine, people will prefer to get degree online or do courses online. This rapid scale up will necessitate the utilization of AI based learning and teaching services by institutes affiliated to the platform. So this rising traffic will necessitate what? Incorporation of generative AI tools, ठीक है. So you can see unlike the United States and Europe based platforms, SWAM is publicly funded, ठीक है. जो स्वयं है प्लेटफॉर्म दैट इज पब्लिकली फंडेड एंड इज ड्रिवन बाय द नेशनल एजुकेशन पॉलिसी. ऑफ कोर्स गवर्नमेंट फंडेड है ये. पॉलिसी टेनेट्स ऑफ इंक्लूसिविटी. सो नेशनल एजुकेशन पॉलिसी की जो प्रिंसिपल्स है, कोर प्रिंसिपल्स और टेनेट्स, दैट इज इंक्लूसिविटी कि सबको एजुकेशन मिलना चाहिए, ट्रांसेंडिंग द दिस इनकम लेवल एंड कास्ट बैरियर्स एंड एवरीथिंग. सो इंक्लूसिव ग्रोथ एंड क्रॉस डिसिप्लिनरी लर्निंग. क्रॉस डिसिप्लिन, सपोज ह्यूमैनिटीज़ वाला बच्चा साइंस भी पढ़ सकता है, साइंस वाला ह्यूमैनिटीज़ के सब्जेक्ट पिक कर चूज कर सकता है. सो क्रॉस डिसिप्लिनरी लर्निंग. Indeed, in the coming years, the drift of SWAM of courses is more likely in the direction of cross-disciplinary course offering that utilize unstructured data. So कहते हैं कि over the time हमें देखने को मिलता है कि more जो trend है that is towards cross-disciplinary this trend or over SWAM on this platform. SWAM is thus ideally positioned to derive benefits from the evolving semantic web. ठीक है. So कहते हैं कि that's why SWAM is going to benefit from such kind of evolving semantic web. Semantic webs are basically related to the World Wide Web kind of it is a new, let us say, discovery evolution in this World Wide traditional World Wide Web, where the waves the platform tries to answer questions or make it more engaging with the help of AI tools. ठीक है. Time will tell whether regenerative AI tools will really shore up the economic fortunes of online education platforms. What is clear at the moment is that the global online education brands will not shy away from experimenting with regenerative AI tools. So ये कहते हैं कि this will be a time testing. Time will only tell कि whether to what extent AI generative tools going to reshape or rebrand this the fortune of these e-education platforms. Fine, but indeed he is saying that what is clear at this moment is that global online education platforms जो हैं और brands जो हैं, they will not shy away from experimenting with regenerative AI tools. So of course the platform will not shy away from experimenting with such kind of evolving AI generative tools. So you can say a good piece of article somewhere you might came across the utility or this MOOC and of course SWAM and all, the global as well as Indian. So next is related to controversial, you can say, or not controversial, but something which is pending in the Supreme Court of India. Of course deliberations going on, of course this this case is still going on in Supreme Court. ठीक है. So this is related to same-sex marriages, morality versus equality. Now the question here is of morality versus equality. So before I go further and discuss these things, let me tell you that the article's title is same-sex marriage, morality versus equality. Now let me give you certain background, some briefs. First of all, brief you. So the thing is, same-sex marriages, I hope you understand, majority of the people, I know, not majority, but there are evolutionary trend, you can say, or many couples are there even in India who wants to marry. Fine. I am talking about the same-sex marriages. Fine. So it is a question at a larger scale that whether it's a morality versus equality. Remember, as far as the case is concerned, current case is going on in Supreme Court, and many of these this has been a long drawn, you can say, arguments in the Supreme Court in both for and against. Government till time is advocating against legalizing such set of marriages, especially same-sex marriages, because government is saying that this can go against the ethos or morality of Indian society. Fine. We are not westernized society, or this, and government is saying this concept of same-sex marriage somewhere has a westernized origin or western nation. This is generally westernized concept which is not in sync with the India's traditional values or morality. Okay? Now the question is, morality one side, social morality and all traditional values or India's cultural and civilizational values, other side the equality. Question is, if heterogeneous couples can marry, then why not the homogeneous or homosexual marriages? Fine. So as an individual, as someone who is preparing for civil services, we need to be very neutral. Of course, even court has been neutral up till now, and that's why this the writer is criticizing the a stand-up court. Fine. But at the same time, he also, so this article to a certain extent been neutral in the sense that this article has taken both the stands. On the one side, criticizing the role of this stand-up court. On the other side, he is saying that this is a larger, even in India, the politicians or the government is saying that this matter is something which should be left in the hands of legislature. Fine. The people itself. So the real power lies in Indian citizens, in the hands of Indian citizens, and Indian citizens, we choose our representatives, send them in parliament on behalf of us. It's a matter of whether हमारे लिए करते हैं कि नहीं करते, that's a different thing. But वो लोग फिर वहाँ बैठ के हमारे लिए कानून बनाते हैं या डिसीजंस लेते हैं हमारी वेलफेयर के लिए, the so-called welfare. Fine. So of course सरकार का ये मानना है कि ये जो मैटर है ये सरकार के हाथ में छोड़ देना चाहिए, नॉट सरकार एग्जैक्टली बट पार्लियामेंट के हाथ में, लेजर टू हैव debate, discussions and wider deliberations. Alongside that, let the parliament allow to come up with the laws and all after long-term deliberations or discussions. Fine. So this is a brief background. Of course, this debate is writer has very much accurately covered this or defined this. Is the debate is versus morality versus equality. Fine. So I hope this much is clear to you. Now let us start with what he is writing. Okay. So he is saying just a few days before Supreme Court of India commenced hearings on the same-sex marriage, okay, one of the world's leading philosophers, Michael Sandel, was in India to take part in media group's conclave. So कहते हैं कि कुछ दिन पहले सुप्रीम कोर्ट के कुछ दिन पहले ही जब कमेंसमेंट हियरिंग स्टार्ट की सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने, उससे कुछ दिन पहले वर्ल्ड्स लीडिंग फिलोसोफर जो है माइकल सैंडल, ही वाज इन इंडिया टू टेक पार्ट इन सम conclave, introduced as, so he was introduced as rock star during the event and prodded to make comments on banal local politics. The significance of his ideas for deeper moral questions facing Indian society remained lost on most. So कहते हैं कि his significance of his ideas for deeper moral questions facing Indian society remained lost on most. ठीक है कि जो उन्होंने जवाब दिया या जो उनकी अपने व्यूज थे, that has been lost on the most counts. ठीक है. So Supreme Court's neutrality, he is talking about the neutrality of Supreme Court. For example, while arguments based on the various strands of liberalism. So liberalism, friends, is a, you can say, a political or economic philosophy of granting or protecting and enhancing the freedom of individuals. ठीक है, were being marshaled before the Supreme Court. Sandel's critique of contemporary liberalism should also have been part of the repertoire for consideration. So कहते हैं कि repertoire is some range or stock of, you can say, consideration, जो भी debate हुई है, stock of discussions which were took place. So कहते हैं कि जो सैंडल ने criticize किया contemporary liberalism को, this should also have been part of this consideration of judgment and all. So still this case is in Supreme Court, so it won't be right for us to comment on this this result. So of course we'll keep tap on this the case itself, but for the time being let us discuss what he is saying. This critic highlights a difficulty in any attempt to sort out. So this critic himself, writer to himself labeled as critic, highlights a difficulty in any attempt to sort out the issue of same-sex marriages within a liberal framework of individual rights. So कहते हैं कि मुझे अपने लेवल पे ये डिफिकल्ट लगता है कि सेम सेक्स मैरिजेस के लिए कोई हम अटेम्प्ट टू सॉर्ट आउट द इशू ऑफ, हम इसको सॉर्ट आउट कर पाएंगे टेकिंग इनटू अकाउंट द लिबरल फ्रेमवर्क ऑफ इंडिविजुअल राइट्स. ठीक है. सो इनका एक अलग आर्गूमेंट है, दो लिबरलिज्म एंड लिबरल फ्रेमवर्क आर वेरी मच देयर, but he doubts that out of this liberal framework whether we would be able to sort out such kind of issues of same-sex marriage or not. For if the court were to adjudicate on the right to marry, फिर ये आर्गूमेंट देते हैं कि if the court were to adjudicate, अगर कोर्ट को एडजुडिकेट करना होता on the right of marry, on the right to marry, it would have been to break its neutrality on moral questions about the desirability of marriage. Of course कहते हैं कि दो चीज़ें हैं, मोरालिटी वर्सेस इक्वालिटी. सो अगर कोर्ट को राइट टू मैरी के ऊपर अगर कोई एडजुडिकेट करना होता, जजमेंट देना होता, तो ऑफकोर्स जो कोर्ट की न्यूट्रलिटी है उसको ब्रेक करके ऑन मोरल ग्राउंड्स, ठीक है, ऑन मोरल क्वेश्चंस, एंड दे शुड कंसीडर द डिजायरेबिलिटी ऑफ सच मैरिज. फाइन. बट व्हाट फिट्स इनटू द इंस्टीट्यूशन, व्हाट इट मीन्स टू पीपल, a neutrality mandated by its jurisprudence on equal concern for all irrespective of social or personal morality. So कहते हैं कि एक न्यूट्रल mandate or neutral judgment by this court which would be of equal concern for all irrespective of social or personal morality. So of course he is saying if court has to decide this, somewhere we have to go beyond the social morality. In fact, the idea of constitutional morality, so he is saying constitutional morality is more important than social morality. So constitutional morality is what? Whatever, you know, the moral principle or ethos been there in the constitution, like let us say secularism, equality, you know, right to marry, of course, is fundamental rights, person of your choice. So these are all the constitutional morality principles. Has been used by the Supreme Court in many cases to maintain neutrality on moral issues. So कहते हैं कि many instances में सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने constitutional morality को यूज़ किया, ऊपर रखा है in place of social morality, ठीक है, in matters of adjudication of the cases. Following this neutrality would mean the court should stop at ensuring that people's legal rights are protected, just like how it held that those in live-in relationships are entitled to legal protection irrespective of the society's moral view on such relationships. ठीक है, तो कहते हैं कि अगर कोर्ट न्यूट्रलिटी बना के रखती है तो इट वुड बी लाइक, इसका मतलब ये होगा कि कोर्ट शुड स्टॉप एट इंश्योरिंग, कोर्ट सिर्फ इतना करके छोड़ दे कि हाँ जो लोग लिव इन रिलेशनशिप में लग रहे हैं और चाहे किसी भी कास्ट है, किसी भी सोशल मोरालिटी का कंसिडरेशन हो, उनको प्रोटेक्शन मिलेगी, दैट इज लीगल प्रोटेक्शन शुड बी ग्रांटेड टू देम. ठीक है, बट इतना करके छोड़ दे, इसके आगे कुछ ना कहे. बट टू मैंडेट द स्टेट टू रिकॉग्नाइज अ पर्टिकुलर काइंड ऑफ मैरिज on the basis of equality is to recognize marriage as a social honor and pronounce on its moral worth. ठीक है, बट ये कहते हैं कि अगर स्टेट के लिए अगर हम मैंडेटरी करें कि हाँ भाई रिकॉग्नाइज करो पर्टिकुलर काइंड ऑफ लेटर से होमोसेक्सुअल मैरिजेस, फाइन ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ इक्वालिटी, इट वुड बी लाइक रिकॉग्नाइजिंग मैरिज एज अ सोशल ऑनर एंड प्रोनाउंस ऑन इट्स मोरल वर्थ. बट सो कोर्ट को यहाँ पे कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल मोरालिटी को छोड़ के सोशल मोरालिटी पे फोकस करना होगा. ठीक है, सो दिस होल पैराग्राफ इज अबाउट कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल मोरालिटी वर्सेस सोशल मोरालिटी. ठीक है, सोसाइटी की मोरालिटी अलग होती है, कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन की मोरालिटी अलग होती है. सो इट वुड बी वायलेटिंग द लिबरल टेनेट ऑफ न्यूट्रलिटी. सो कहते हैं कि अगर ऐसा करती है कोर्ट, एक साइड को पकड़ के चलती है, सो ऑफ कोर्स इट वुड बी वायलेशन ऑफ न्यूट्रलिटी ऑफ liberal, this violating the liberal tenet of neutrality. Of course neutral means you are not taking the either stand. अगर आप social morality के साथ जाते हो, it means you are violating the constitutional morality. If you are, you know, pronouncing judgment with this taking into account the social morality, means you are violating the constitutional morality and vice versa. ठीक है, okay. So even for an ardent votary of same-sex marriage like the philosopher Martha Nussbaum, कहते हैं कि अगर आप चाहे जितनी मर्जी कट्टर वोटरी हो, फेवर में हो सेम सेक्स मैरिज के, even like the philosopher Martha Nussbaum, state intervention in the matter is only the second best option. Fine. So कहते हैं कि state की intervention ज़रूरी है and this is only the second best option so long as the state is in the marrying business. Concerns with equality require it to offer marriage to same-sex couples, but कहते हैं कि जब तक स्टेट इसको लेना देना है और स्टेट इज इन मैरिंग बिजनेस, ठीक है, स्टेट की इंटरवेंशन जरूरी भी है एंड इट कंसर्न्स विद इक्वालिटी रिक्वायर्ड टू ऑफर मैरिज टू सेम-सेक्स कपल्स एंड अलाउ भी करनी चाहिए, बट इट वुड बी अ लॉट बेटर एज अ मैटर ऑफ बोथ पॉलिटिकल थियरी एंड पब्लिक पॉलिसी इफ the state withdraw from the marrying business, which is of course a kind of utopian thing for us, especially as India is concerned, India's civilizational setup and cultural this stand is concerned, or our own morality or ethos of this ancient culture is concerned. So of course here he is saying कि जो business और marrying है और marrying business जो है वो स्टेट को अपने आप को उससे बाहर कर लेना चाहिए, विथड्रॉ कर लेना चाहिए, which is of course it seems to be of course another set of another thing for debate and all. So the idea that the state should be neutral to moral concerns about institutions like marriage is what Sandel calls bracketing of moral issues. So कहते हैं कि जो माइकल सैंडल हैं, जो फिलोसोफर हैं, आइडिया ऑफ द स्टेट शुड बी न्यूट्रल, कि स्टेट जो है वो न्यूट्रल रहे, कि स्पेशली मोरल कंसर्न्स में जहाँ सोसाइटल की मोरालिटी रिलेटेड इश्यूज हों, एंड फॉर एग्जांपल इन टर्म्स ऑफ मैरिजेस, तो सैंडल कहते हैं कि इट शुड बी अ ब्रैकेटिंग ऑफ मोरल इश्यूज, कि जो मोरल इश्यूज हैं उसको एक ब्रैकेट लगा के रखे, ठीक है, और शुड बी पुट अंडर ब्रैकेट्स. means it should be of course taken out, or you can say it should be kept away. It assumes human ability to detach oneself from his or her stories or social and historical roles and statues. So of course it would be like detaching oneself from historical roles and statues, or even this our ancient stories. So equality or privacy. Now the question is equality versus privacy. In the context of same-sex marriages, the court will be following this approach if it were to decide in favor of the petitioners only on the basis of equality or privacy. So of course कहते हैं कि कोर्ट ये अप्रोच लेगी अगर वो petitioners की जो जो भी PILs हैं एंड ऑल, अगर उस पे जजमेंट देना चाहे टू डिसाइड इन देयर फेवर, अगर उनके फेवर में जजमेंट देना देती है कोर्ट, तो वो इन चीज़ों को कंसीडर करेगी. व्हाट इज दैट? ओनली ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ इक्वालिटी और प्राइवेसी, कि सेम सेक्स कपल्स को भी हेटेरोजेनस कपल्स की तरह इक्वालिटी का हक है, राइट टू इक्वालिटी, वन ऑफ द फंडामेंटल राइट्स, और टू गार्ड देयर और सेफ गार्ड देयर प्राइवेसी एज वेल. सो अगर ये दो पॉइंट्स को लेकर चले, इक्वालिटी एंड प्राइवेसी, सो ऑफ कोर्स court might rule in favor of such couples or same-sex marriages. So Sandel says further, if social and economic rights are required as a matter of equal respect for persons, the question remains why these persons have a claim on my concern that others do not. So of course question is कि इन लोगों को मेरे why these persons have a claim on my concern that others do not have. So why the one set of person be mindful of concern over the claim of others? In other words, citizens who see and value marriage as a heterosexual institutions, fine, कहते हैं कि वो जनता जो marriage को एक heterosexual institution मानती है would be asked to recognize same-sex marriages through their state of course, not as a matter of shared understanding but as a duty we owe to strangers. So कहते हैं कि इसको एज अ ड्यूटी और लाइक हम स्ट्रेंजर्स के लिए हमारी ड्यूटी जो बनती है उस तरह से सोसाइटल लेवल पे लोगों जनता सिटीजन्स इसको इस तरह से देख सकती है, बट नॉट एज अ शेयर्ड अंडरस्टैंडिंग. फाइन. सो ऑफ कोर्स थिंग्स वांट्स आर पर्पस अगर अंडरस्टैंडिंग ना डेवलप हो. ऑन द अदर हैंड, if the matter were to be decided on the basis of intrinsic value or social importance of the practice, fine, social importance अगर देखा जाए, so of course this is against the social importance, social morality of India. One avoids the alienation that gives rise to fundamentalist tendency. ठीक है? Fundamentalists are the persons who are who strictly believes in the let us say whatever values and principles mentioned under let us say any kind of let us say religious texts, scriptures and all. Fine. The जिसको आप कट्टर बोलते हो, कि believes in their own sets of what their religion propagates. This now takes us to the more important question is as to whether the court, or for that matter even a centralized state, is capable of deciding on or resolving moral issues in society. So कहते हैं कि ये हमारे को एक बहुत बड़ा क्वेश्चन हमारे सामने रेज करता है कि क्या कोर्ट और इवन लेट अस से द गवर्नमेंट ऑफ द स्टेट इज are capable of solving such kind of issues which is related to the societal morality. ठीक है? सोशल लेवल पे कोई इशू है अगर, तो क्या ये दोनों इंस्टीट्यूशंस कैपेबल हैं इसको सॉल्व करने में या नहीं. सो सैंडल यहाँ पे फिर एक एग्जांपल देते हैं. फिलोसोफर साइट्स द एग्जांपल ऑफ मैसाचुसेट्स सुप्रीम जुडिशियल कोर्ट डिसीजन इन गुडरिच वर्सेस डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ पब्लिक हेल्थ 2003. सो व्हाट दिस केस इज ऑल अबाउट, which legalized basically the same-sex marriage, not just on grounds of equality and freedom of choice, but by pronouncing on the virtues of marriage. So it legalized this case of 2003, but of course the Western nation has some different kind of setup. Our Indian society or morality is different than Western, so of course we will be having different kind of even judgments and arguments. So in the American context, the court only had to choose between whether marriage is about procreation or loving relationships. So कहते हैं कि it was easier side on in American case, the court has to take one stand between whether the marriage is about procreation, ठीक है, or loving relationships. So this matter was procreation versus loving relationships. Fine. If you are giving importance to loving relationships, so of course homosexual marriages can be allowed. Fine. And if procreation, so of course this can be denied. Fine. Depending on whether you are what stance you take basically. So in India, the significance of marriage for those who look at it in traditional terms is much more than both. So इंडिया के लिए ऑफ कोर्स ये जो लविंग रिलेशनशिप्स वर्सेस प्रोक्रिएशन की डिबेट है और जो जजमेंट है अमेरिकन कॉन्टेक्स्ट में अमेरिकन कोर्ट की, that has little to do with what our traditional setup is related to our traditional terms is much more than both these, just procreation or loving relationships, goes beyond these two just terms. The significance was captured by the Calcutta High Court in 1901 as follows. In case of India, marriage is a union of flesh with flesh, bone with bone. The union is sacred tie and subsists even after the death. ठीक है? So हमारे लिए marriage का मतलब ये है, that is it is a union of flesh, which was very much underlined by the Calcutta High Court in the year 1901. It is a union of flesh with flesh, bone with bone. The union is sacred tie and persists even after the death. ये मरने के बाद भी ये बनी रहती है. ठीक है? This is what we believe. Citizens initiative. So there are certain citizens initiative being taken in Yale professor Helen Landmore says compared to liberal court decisions imposed on a reluctant public with the potential for backfiring. बिल्कुल ठीक बात है कि कोर्ट की डिसीजन हो सकता है बैकफायर कर जाए. ठीक है? Because this decision should be taken to the citizens into consideration as people into confidence. The most radical and ultimately sustainable changes to have come for gay rights. So gay rights के लिए most sustainable changes इस तरह से आए हैं वहाँ पे, were forced on parties and electoral assemblies by ad hoc citizens assemblies. So of course Ireland का example दिया गया कि ad hoc citizen assembly के थ्रू एक्चुअली इसको गे राइट्स को रिकग्नाइज किया गया और इलेक्शंस के थ्रू इलेक्टोरल असेंबलीज के थ्रू इसको ऑफ कोर्स अनलेस एंड अनटिल वी डोंट हैव द लेट अस से द स्टैम्प ऑफ और पार्लियामेंट स्पेशली वी कैन नॉट हैव लेट अस से acceptable decision with respect to same-sex marriages even in India, and the pressure of citizens initiative in Finland. So these are two examples in Finland and Ireland. They were basically the citizens initiatives. ठीक है? It has been noted by the scholars that historically Indian society has not shared the same sense of disgust or hatred with which homosexuals were treated in other parts of the world. So कहते हैं कि कुछ scholars ने ये notice किया है कि historically अगर देखा जाए इंडियन सोसाइटी में तो इंडियन सोसाइटी हैज़ नॉट शेयर द सेम सेंस ऑफ डिस्गस्ट और हेट्रेड with which homosexuals were treated in other parts of the world. So they here writer tries to paint a soft corner that historically अगर इंडिया में देखा जाए तो कोई हमें disgust या hatred show नहीं की थी against homosexuals like in other parts of the world. So understandably there were no social rumblings when homosexuality was decriminalized. ठीक बात है, homosexuality जो decriminalize कर दिया था सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने. So there were no issues then. It reflected the society's shared values. Can the same be said about homosexual marriages? So कहते हैं कि जब decriminalize किया homosexuality को सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने, so there are no rumblings, not much protest and all. But can the same be labeled as can the same be said for homosexual marriages? Question mark. So of course this is a matter of debate. Have we, like some Western societies, accepted romantic love or companionship and nothing else to be the basis of marriage? So कहते हैं कि अगेन इम्पॉर्टेंट क्वेश्चन है कि क्या हमने वेस्टर्न नेशंस की तरह ये एक्सेप्ट कर लिया है कि रोमांटिक लव और कंपेनियनशिप जो है दैट इज़ टू बी द ओनली बेस फॉर मैरिजेस, नथिंग एल्स. ऑफ कोर्स नॉट, वी हैव नॉट एक्सेप्टेड सच थिंग्स. सो कैन द honorific value of marriage be sustained without a heterosexual couple? Now again important question कि can this such kind of marriages be sustained without having heterosexual couple? Fine. Like heterosexual, of course, a male and a female, and homosexual, same genders, female, male, kind of things. Ideally, these questions should be left for citizens' assemblies, of course, parliament, or citizens' initiative like in the Ireland or Finland. In India too, one could look for equivalents. Reviving Gandhi's little republics could be a good starting point. So here another important thing is he is emphasizing on giving such, leaving such kind of things in the hands of parliament or the citizens to take decision. Alongside that, he is saying another way forward could be reviving Gandhi's little republics. So what does it mean? Gandhi gave prominence, to the little republics, and to Gandhi, little republics were nothing but the panchayats and the villages. Fine. So he is saying that debate should start from the roots, from the village level or panchayat level related to this, and awareness should be, there should be a mass level awareness for the public or the society at a wider scale to accept such kind of marriages, that is homosexual marriages, marriages between two persons of same gender, you can say, or same sex. Fine. So I hope this was insightful, an important piece of article as well. Now we are moving to the next part, next pages, and here another important article for the day is related to will a hike in MSP help farmers? So the day MSP were hiked, I covered it as well, but let us check it out, that whether this hike in MSP will help farmers. So what is the government claim on remunerative prices to growers? Now the question is, will a hike in MSP help farmers? So let me first tell you, government has been revising MSP, fine, year after years for both cycles, Rabi and Kharif crops, and more or less, but how the MSP rate is revised or all. So remember, we have CACP, Commission for Agriculture and Cost and Pricing. This is a recommendatory body which gives recommendation to the government, especially to the Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs, and this is the final decision making body chaired by Prime Minister. ठीक है, Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs which takes decision related to the revision, upward revision or to increase the MSP rates for Rabi and Kharif crops respectively. ठीक है, so CACP is just recommendatory body which gives recommendations considering lots of factors into account like cost of production and lots of things, and currently it is declared as 1.5 times of A2 plus FL. Fine, A2 plus FL, that is A2 plus FL is imputed labor cost and all value of. So there are certain mechanisms like we have A2, then we have FL, A2 plus FL, then we have C2. MS Swaminathan Commission के according C2 declare पे होना चाहिए 1.5 times, but government is currently at this A2 plus FL. ठीक है, what is all this will be starting in detail in your GS economic classes. ठीक है, but this much I think background is clear. Now let us focus on this part. Fine. Okay. So the story so far. Let us first quickly take into account the background. So the last week Central announced the MSP for this year's summers Kharif crops. Kharif crops are basically the monsoon crops, summer's crop, season crops, hiking prices between 5 to 10% from last season to ensure remunerative prices to growers for their produce and to encourage crop diversification. So this has been the focus, crop diversification and remunerative prices to the farmers. A section of farmers representatives have expressed unhappiness over what they term as meager hike in the MSP, defeating the government's intent of securing remunerative prices. But कुछ farmers को ये बढ़ाया हुआ रास नहीं आया, they are saying this is a meager increment. On the other hand, agricultural domain experts believe that an increase in MSP may give a slight respite to growers, but argue that in the absence of any dependable or assured market mechanism of procurement purchase for crops on the MSP in most parts of the country, the purpose of encouraging crop diversification gets defeated. So कहते हैं कि देखो सरकार ठीक है कह रही है कि जो दो हमारे पर्पस हैं कि रेम्यूनरेटिव प्राइजेस मिले किसानों को इसको बढ़ाने से, MSP is the price, minimum support price, at which basically government procures products from these farmers when it prices goes below the market price. ठीक है, तो इस केस में क्या होता है, गवर्नमेंट को PDS रन करना होता है, पब्लिक डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन सिस्टम, सो उसके लिए भी हमें ज़रूरत पड़ती है अनाज की. ठीक है, एंड इवन टू मीट कंटिजेंसी व्हेन FCI go downs to be filled up with stocks, buffer stocks प्रोविजनिंग के लिए. सो इसलिए गवर्नमेंट MSP पे इंश्योर करती है कि रेम्यूनरेटिव प्राइजेस किसान को दी जाए इन केस ऑफ डाउन टर्न्स इन मार्केट प्राइजेस. सो इस तरह से बट होता क्या है कि इंडिया में जस्ट 3-4 स्टेट्स आर देयर, फॉर एग्जांपल पंजाब, हरियाणा, MP, जस्ट 3-4 these states makes up around 90% of, let us say, the overall procurement of government, of course. So what about the rest of the India? So of course it's but other hand जो agriculture experts हैं they are talking about crop diversification की जो purpose और defeat हो जाती है अगर government इनके जो produce है उसको procure ही ना करे, ठीक है, at MSPs. So of course how does the MSP work? Okay, so MSP काम कैसे करता है? Which is MSP is a part of government's agricultural price policy, is the price at which the government offers to procure farmers' produce during the season. It works as a tool to stabilize production and to control consumer prices. Yet, farmers across the country have been facing problems of selling their produce at the MSP. So, कहते हैं कि जो MSP है, it's a part of agricultural price policy of the government. This is a price at which government offers, of course, as I said, कि this is a price जिस पे government procure करती है produce from the farmers, ठीक है, minimum support price, that's why the name. In case of market prices कम मिलते हैं farmers को तो MSP से भी कम. It works as a tool to stabilize. अब ये stabilize करती है production को because farmers को ensure करती है in advance में कि in failure of let us say any kind of situations arises, government is there to procure or produce. Fine. So gives you insurety or ensures you to produce. ठीक है, more and to control consumer prices. So of course अगर production insured होगी तो supply better रहेगा. Supply अगर better है तो of course you would be able to control consumer prices at a consumer level. ठीक है. Yet farmers across the country have been facing problems of selling their produce at the MSP. As I said कि just 3-4 states which makes a larger chunk of your MSP procurement. Fine. What about the rest of India? ठीक है. Delays in establishing procurement centers, exploitation. So delays in establishing procurement centers, exploitation at the hands of the commission agents. बिल्कुल ठीक बात है, वो most of the time buy the produce from farmers below the MSP, and a lack of awareness about the MSP among large section of the farmers are some of the challenges growers have been facing for years now. So these are very much very important, you can say, are the challenges or the factors which are actually the hurdles in the overall hurdles in farmers getting better remunerative prices. And what are these hurdles? Commission agents, आपको पता है, as I said, just 4 states apart from that, the rest of India, what happens, commission agents are involved. Even in these states commission agents are involved, but since farmers are more aware here, they are not able to manipulate their farmers. Of course they are manipulating those who are not aware of poor farmers, but not that as a larger scale as the case for the rest of India being. ठीक है. So ये जो आपके agents हैं ये below MSP पे खरीद लेते हैं farmers से, and this happens because of lack of awareness about the MSP among large section of farmers. Against this background, farmers have been demanding a legal status. जैसे कि आप लोगों को ध्यान होगा protest at Singhu border and all. So legal status वहाँ पे एक major जो demand थी, that was to grant legal status to the MSP. So the government, including the center and the states, ought to come up with a system to set up an assured market mechanism. So government came up with or decided to come up with a system to set up an assured market mechanism, AMM, assured market mechanism, instead of granting a legal status for the time being. Point out farmers, the MSP has little meaning unless farmers' produce is procured, purchased at the assured price. So कहते हैं कि MSP चाहे जितना मर्जी बढ़ा दो या डिक्लेयर कर दो, but unless until you are procuring the same set of products and produces at the MSP, then only it would be relevant. Now what is the government's announcement? ठीक है. So announcement यही कि खरीफ सीजन के लिए गवर्नमेंट ने रिवाइज कर दिया है. ठीक है. On June 7, the government announced the MSP for 17 kharif crops like paddy, pulses, oil seeds like groundnut and soybean, and cotton for the marketing season of 2023-24. These were approved at the meeting of course, CCA Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs. According to the government statement, the increase in MSP is in line with the Union Budget 2018-19 announced of fixing the MSP at a level of at least 1.5 times the all India weighted average cost of production, which aims at a reasonably fair remuneration for the farmers. ठीक है. सो गवर्नमेंट कहती है कि हमारा जो फोकस था, जो अनाउंसमेंट की थी बजट में 2018-19 की, of fixing the MSP at a level of at least 1.5 times. So this might be important, question, especially in objective kind of sense or preliminary kind of sense, कि which union budget actually announced to fix the MSP at a level of at least 1.5 times the all India weighted average cost of production. So it was budget of 2018 and 19, remember, which aims at reasonably fair. Of course सो फूड मिनिस्टर जो हमारे हैं पीयूष गोयल साहब सेड द इंक्रीज इन एमएसपी ऑफ खरीफ क्रॉप्स फॉर दिस ईयर इज द हाईएस्ट इंक्रीज कंपेयर टू द प्रीवियस ईयर्स. सो वाई आर फार्मर्स वरीड? अगर इतना इंक्रीज हुआ है तो सेवरल फार्मर्स आउटफिट्स हैव एक्सप्रेस्ड देयर डिसकंटेनमेंट ओवर द लेटेस्ट एमएसपी फॉर द समर क्रॉप्स, टर्मिंग इट इनसफिशिएंट. ऑफ कोर्स दे सेड कि दिस इज अ मीगर और बढ़ाना चाहिए था. दीज आर द फार्मर यूनियंस. सो लेट अस नॉट गो इनटू दैट. The long-standing promise made by the Bharatiya Janata Party in 2014 that the MSP will be given according to the Swaminathan Commission recommendation of C2 plus 50%, C2 or comprehensive cost of production basically, ठीक है, remains an unfulfilled election promise. ठीक है, so ये किसान यूनियन जो है वो एलिगेशंस लगा रहे हैं. ठीक है, ठीक है. फर्दर फार्मर्स यूनियन ये कहते हैं कि इंश्योरिंग 1.5 टाइम्स द कॉस्ट ऑफ प्रोडक्शन ऑन क्रॉप्स डज नॉट हेल्प इन एड्रेसिंग द फार्मर्स प्लाइट एज इट डज नॉट प्रोवाइड रेम्यूनरेटिव प्राइसेस. ठीक है, कंसीडरिंग इन्फ्लेशन एंड कॉस्ट ऑफ इनपुट्स राइजिंग एंड ऑल. सो इट इज मेयरली एन आई वॉश. ठीक है, सेइंग द आउटफिट्स. So of course their demand is to keep into account and go with the Swaminathan recommendation formula of C2 plus 50%, that is comprehensive cost plus 50% over that. ठीक है. What agriculture experts saying now? Noted economist Dr. Ranjit Singh Khuman, currently as professor of eminence economics at Guru Nanak Dev University, okay, Amritsar, point out that the past track record shows that only 3 to 4 crops, for example wheat, paddy, cotton and at times some pulses were being procured at MSP. कहते हैं कि फॉर एग्जांपल 17 खरीफ क्रॉप के लिए एमएसपी डिक्लेयर हुआ है, बट पास्ट ट्रैक रिकॉर्ड्स ये कह रहे हैं कि सिर्फ 4 मेजर क्रॉप्स हैं जिनकी प्रोक्योरमेंट गवर्नमेंट एमएसपी पे कर रही है. फॉर एग्जांपल वीट, पैडी, कॉटन एंड टू सर्टेन एक्सटेंट एट टाइम्स सम पल्सेस एज वेल. फाइन, ओके. रिमेनिंग क्रॉप्स वर बीइंग प्रोक्योर्ड एट मच बिलो द एमएसपी. This is mainly because the farmers are left at the mercy of market forces and the private players. Non-implementation of MSP and below MSP procurement of a large number of crops inter alia has been one of the major hurdles in crop diversification, which is so vital for Indian agriculture and in saving the environment. So this is what is saying Professor Goman, that non-implementation of MSP and below MSP procurement of large number of crops has been one of the major hurdles in crop diversification in India. ठीक है, बिल्कुल ठीक बात है. अगर फार्मर्स क्रॉप डाइवर्सिफाई करें बट अगर उनको इंश्योरिटी ना दी जाए, श्योरिटी ना दी जाए कि हाँ गवर्नमेंट इज देयर टू will come up to procure your produce, so of course they will be left to the market forces and in the exploitative hands of market agents or private players. Ineffective implementation, he is saying, of MSP and non-procurement of all the crops at the MSP is also one of the main concerns of farmers. Such a scenario builds a strong rationale for giving legal status to the MSP as it is a floor or reference price. So ये कहते हैं कि ये सारी चीज़ें एक strong rationale provide करती है कि grant legal status to MSP as it is the floor or reference price. It is the floor price. Floor means the minimum limit and ceiling is the upper limit. ठीक है, so that's why name itself suggests minimum support price, that is minimum price at which the farmers can sell. So this does not imply that the government should procure all those crops, but would certainly bind the private players to procure those crops at least at MSP. So ये कहते हैं कि legal status grant करने का मतलब ये नहीं है, this is a very good insight, कि सरकार सारी क्रॉप्स को प्रोक्योर करे, रादर इट विल बाइंड द प्राइवेट प्लेयर्स और मार्केट एजेंट्स टू प्रोक्योर दोस ऑल ऑफ द क्रॉप्स एट एमएसपी, नॉट बिलो दैट. ठीक है, सो दिस कैन बी वन ऑफ द इनसाइट्स, गुड पॉइंट्स कैन बी टेकन फॉरवर्ड फ्रॉम हियर. While facilitating crop diversification, it would raise farmers' income, which is being propagated by the governments. So कहते हैं कि at the same time it will raise the government's income. What about food grains stock? As per the third advance estimates for 2020-23, total food grain production in the country is estimated at a record 330.5 million tons. ठीक है, which is the higher by 14.9 million tons compared to 2021-22. So total food grain production जो 2022-23 के लिए है, that has been 330.5, which is in, almost 15% more, 15 million tons more compared to the previous year. ठीक है, this is the highest increase in the last 5 years according to government data. The total stock of rice and wheat held by FCI and state agencies as on May was 555.34 million tons. ठीक है, lakh tons comprising, of course you can see rice would be more, comprising 265 lakh tons of rice and 290 lakh tons of wheat. So wheat की जो stock है वो ज़्यादा है with FCI and other states agencies. Now, former professor at Ludhiana West Punjab Agricultural University, M.S. Sidhu, asserts that delay in monsoon would impact cropping in non-irrigated regions of the country. Around 51% area in the country is rain-fed. So, if rains are delayed, some impact is bound to be seen. So, ये कहते हैं कि अगर मानसून की डिले होता है तो ऑफ कोर्स इसकी वजह से, क्योंकि इंडिया में रेनफेड एरिया बहुत ज़्यादा है, दैट इज ऑलमोस्ट 51%. सो ऑफ कोर्स आवर प्रोडक्शन कुड ऑल्सो be impacted, but the country's food grain stock are at comfortable level, so there is nothing to worry as of now, he adds further. ठीक है, what lies ahead now, what is the way forward? The MSP attempts to strike a balance between the interest of the growers and consumers. The government's price support policy attempts to provide a fair return to farmers while keeping in view the interest of the consumers in a way that prices of food and other agricultural commodities are kept at a reasonable level. So, of course, the focus of MSP is the welfare of both the growers as well as the consumers. For consumers to keep the price at lower level, and for the growers to make sure that they get the better remunerative prices. ठीक है, farming over the years for the majority, especially small and marginal farmers, has not turned out to be remunerative. बिल्कुल ठीक बात है, small and marginal farmers के लिए farming remunerative नहीं हो पाई है. A rise in their income could be the long-term answer to farmers' financial distress. To ensure this rise in income, the government should focus on setting up an effective system to provide assured purchase and returns to farmers for all the major crops. ठीक है, सो फोकस यहाँ पे वे फॉर्ड में यही है सॉल्यूशन कि गवर्नमेंट को ये इंश्योर करना चाहिए rise in order to ensure the farmers income gets raised, gets upward, or see increment in farmers income, कि किसानों की इनकम बढ़े. तो इसके लिए जरूरी है कि सरकार एक इफेक्टिव मैकेनिज्म और सिस्टम इस्टेब्लिश करे अंडर विच परचेजिंग जो है ऑफ क्रॉप प्रोड्यूस वो एश्योर्ड हो. ठीक है, एंड रिटर्न्स टू फार्मर्स फॉर ऑल मेजर क्रॉप्स एट द MSP as is done in the case of wheat and rice. ठीक है, कि जैसे wheat और राइस की प्रोक्योरमेंट होती है at MSP, सारे क्रॉप्स की होनी चाहिए. ठीक है, और एक्सटेंड द सब्सिडीज ऑन इनपुट कॉस्ट. सो यहाँ तो ये करो, यहाँ फार्मर्स को इनपुट सब्सिडी पे दिस इनपुट्स पे सब्सिडी दो. ठीक है, जैसे फर्टिलाइजर सब्सिडी देती है गवर्नमेंट, सो इस तरह से और भी इनपुट्स पे सब्सिडी दे सकती है. ठीक है, सो दिस हैज बीन अ वेरी गुड पीस ऑफ आर्टिकल अगेन एज फार एज द MSP इज कंसर्न्ड. टू अंडरस्टैंड द MSP इन टोटलिटी, very good coverage of the explanation this page of the Hindu, so you can go through this article as well. Now moving to the some miscellaneous facts, let us see what more important from the especially prelims point of view. So what is this? Assam same places interface plan before Koki. Okay, it's grown groups. Okay, Manipur and all issues going on, violence. Okay, COVID and geopolitical tensions affected development. That's what our honorable Prime Minister is saying. बिल्कुल ठीक बात है. Education plus sports event on choices to study abroad. Okay. COVID and geopolitics, of course. Okay. Okay. Okay, again politics and politics only. Let us move to next page. देखते हैं अगले पेज पे क्या है. If there's something important, गुजरात ब्रेसिंग फॉर साइक्लोनिक स्टॉर्म बाइपर जॉय. सो ऑफ कोर्स इसके बारे में हम पहले भी बात कर चुके हैं, ध्यान रखना. ठीक है, 4,624 कैंडिडेट्स क्वालिफाई फॉर UPSC सिविल सर्विसेज मेंस एग्जाम, बिकॉज ऑलरेडी रिजल्ट आ चुका है UPSC सिविल सर्विसेज का प्रीलिम्स का. पोषण ऐप हेल्प माइग्रेंट वर्कर्स एक्सेस आंगनवाड़ी सर्विस ड्यूरिंग रिलोकेशन. बिल्कुल ठीक बात है. पोषण अभियान जो हमारा चल रहा है उसके लिए गवर्नमेंट ने पोषण ऐप लॉन्च किया था, एंड दिस ऐप हैज़ बीन वेरी हेल्पफुल इन ट्रैकिंग द माइग्रेंट वर्कर्स एक्सेस आंगनवाड़ी सर्विसेज ड्यूरिंग रिलोकेशन. ठीक है, तो जब एक जगह से दूसरी जगह जाते हैं, सो दे कैन यूज द आंगनवाड़ी सर्विसेज. चाइना कुड हैव एज मेनी एज ICBMs as US or Russia by turn of decade. This has been said by the think tank. ICBM is intercontinental ballistic missiles. So this report has been by SIPRI, one of the major, you can say, this body चाइना इंक्रीज न्यूक्लियर आर्सेनल टू 410 वेयर वॉर हेड्स, ठीक है। सो यहाँ पे चाइना की डेटा है, इंडिया का है एंड पाकिस्तान भी है, पड़ोसी देश हमारा, ठीक है। January 2023 from 315 January, so this has been said by SIPRI, that is Stockholm International Peace Research Institute, ठीक है। सो वॉर हेड्स की अगर हम बात करें, न्यूक्लियर बॉम्ब्स एंड ऑल दैट, सो इट कैन सी डिप्लॉयड इंडिया के केस में 0, स्टोर्ड 164, पाकिस्तान के पास ज़्यादा है इसलिए पाकिस्तान का मिनिस्ट्री धमकी देते रहते हैं हमें, ठीक है, बट ऐसा कुछ नहीं है। What matters is the strategy. Even with the lesser number of atom bombs, you can kill, and not kill. I think it won't be better. I mean, of course, it's strategic. You know, everything is strategy. So strategically, wars can be, you know, fought and won even with lesser number of soldiers and even warheads. ठीक है? But we are not going to fight with our little brother. ठीक है? Of course, उसे कहने का हक है, but हम काफ़ी सहनशील लोग हैं. Okay. So this is the report about, you know, nuclear arsenals and warheads. So अगर इंडिया की बात करें, so according to SIPRI estimates, India's arsenal grew to 164 warheads in 2023 from 116 in 2022 and that of Pakistan from 160. So पाकिस्तान ने 5 ऐड किए हैं इंक्रीमेंट, हमने सिर्फ 4 किए हैं. So हम पीछे ही रहते हैं पाकिस्तान से. एटलीस्ट पाकिस्तान को ये लगे कि हम कुछ चीज़ में तो पीछे हैं. ठीक है, अच्छी बात है. चलो, so this much, keep in mind. Indirect talk with US, okay, nothing important here. Again, politics, world politics, politics and politics only. Okay, miscellaneous facts. US decides to return to UNESCO. ठीक है, UNESCO, US decides to return to UNESCO. ट्रम्प के टाइम पे यूनेस्को से बाहर हो गया था. The UN Cultural and Scientific Agency UNESCO announced on Monday that the US plans to rejoin it and pay more than 600 million in back dues. ठीक है, so this much you can remember. What is UNESCO, where is the headquarter and everything. April industrial output grows 4.2%, rises from 5-month low. So this has been, of course, we have seen PMI with respect to manufacturing sector, PMI with respect to services, and April industrial output grows 4.2%, rises from 5 months low. This has again been a positive thing for us. So hesitant climb, April growth has still reflected the second slowest uptick in 6 months, even as NSO revised upward March IAP, of course March index of industrial production. Electricity contracted, ठीक है, unseasonal rains likely impacted power demand, and consumer durables dipped 3.5%, shrinking for the 5th month in a row. So these are the factors which is keeping it low. Fine. Okay, RBI permits bank to settle willful default, run imported coal power units at 100% till September. This has been said by Power Ministry. Multi-pronged policy must for growth. Michael De Patra, the Deputy Governor of RBI, ठीक है, he is saying that multi-pronged policy is must for growth. So you can you know, use this somewhere in writing your subjective answers. Pitch for multi-pronged policy response to reignite and sustain productivity and growth at a time when multiple factors that can influence the economy are at work. ठीक है. For example, the policy response has to be powered by technological capital deepening, accompanied by long-term investment, research and development to nurture a competitive innovation ecosystem. In addition, he said rising labor force participation rates, especially among women, could also boost productivity. ठीक बात है. Further, he said digitalization as a key avenue for future productivity growth by harnessing the power to rapidly diffuse and replicate ideas. So digitalization, increase in labor force participation of the especially women, and long-term technological, you know, deepening are the way forward according to him in order to enhance our overall productivities. Fine. So 3 things you can take from here. India EU targets 100 billion in non-oil trade by 2030. So UAE is emerging as our largest trading partner in the coming times, you know, in of course in the past, and in non-oil trade. So अगर आप rise देखोगे, increment देखोगे in percentage terms, so UAE India की trade बहुत speed से बढ़ रही है. ठीक है. Target is $100 billion of trade in non-oil, remember, ठीक है, not crude. By 2030. Both the countries also agreed upon setting up certain subcommittees and councils. So this much you can take into account. ठीक है. अगर हम थोड़े से facts figures की बात करें तो UAE and India on Monday set a target to increase the non-oil trade from current 48 billion to 100 billion by 2030, means more than double. The goal to achieve 100 billion non-illiterate was set during the first meeting, of course, first meeting of Joint Committee of India UAE Comprehensive Economic Partnership. We signed SEPA with UAE last year only. Okay? So this much you can take from here. Okay, what else? World Cups, new avatar, okay, sports and all. Finally, we have landed on probably the last page. Okay. So, okay, everything is sports here. Though UPSC is asking question from sports, but just focus on the important facts and figures, not everything. A lot of 2-3 pages being dedicated only to sports, not to waste that much of time. So that's it for the day, my friends, from my side. Stay tuned for the further, tomorrow's Hindu analysis. Please keep revising the things, and until then, take care. Fine. Thank you for joining us. Stay tuned.